I'll be discovering secret gardens in Morocco.
Ooh, this is very different indeed.
Temporary paradise gardens are still being created, and there is one, only completed a year or so ago, that I want to visit before I leave Morocco.
This is extraordinary. Extraordinary sense of calm in the middle of this teeming place, but not just that, because all the things you would expect, the water, the sound of it bubbling in a basin, the birds, they're familiar. The shabar, we've seen that in Spain and would expect it. But what I hadn't expected is the planting. The planting is breathtakingly simple. And it's based upon the Persian idea of a fragrant meadow. It's called bustan. And so the grasses are everywhere. This is a Stipa tenuissima, which in my garden, and I suspect yours, just flops in a delightfully soft way. But here it's clipped and it's growing upright because baking hot sun, you've got sand, it's much sturdier. And then dotted in amongst them, you've got this Cape garlic, Tolbagia, and then the odd lavender, Lavender palmatum. But just every now and then, as though they're just naturally growing in the meadow, yet within this courtyard. And that's both brilliant, I think. It's fantastically inspired planting, but completely embracing the idea of a paradise garden.
Le Jardin Secret, the secret garden, was once an important palace, but by the mid-1930s it had fallen into disrepair and was abandoned. But in 2008, the plan to restore it as a public space began. And 8 years later, the garden, designed by the English garden designer Tom Stewart-Smith and built by local Moroccan craftsmen, was opened.
The traditional sunken beds are edged by clipped hedges. Now, the Western eye, immediately thinks of box or whatever, but this is a shabar, and the hedges are fragrant. This is clipped rosemary, and it feels slightly oily to touch and is beautifully, richly scented. And you can see when the sun hits that, the whole garden will be filled with its fragrance.
The head gardener is Rachid Fouti.
Now, Rachid, there was a huge amount of work creating the garden, but what is involved in maintaining it?
المشاكل اللي تلقاو هو بالنسبة للطقس الحرارة تتكون الحرارة بزاف هنا في مراكش لهذا تنضطروا بأننا نخدموا بالليل باش نستغلوا داك الليل نسقيو فيه.
I love the way that the steeper grasses have been cut. How often do you do this? Do you keep them cut, or is it a seasonal thing?
هو تنديرو حنا على حسب نبدلو الشوفه للكليان. الستيبا بعض المرات تنخليوها تتكبر تتولي تدير بحال الماج تاع البحر لواحد المده معينه، ولكن فاش تقريبا الطياج ديالها تيتراوح ما بين 5 حتى 6 مرات في العام.
What is your favorite aspect of the garden? What do you enjoy most about it?
هو الجردانه من الصغر ديالي خدمت بزاف تاع الخدمات، ولكن الخدمه اللي تتعجبني انا هي الجرده اللي تيبقى فيها الحال الا شي بلونت مات. وفي الليل كاع ملي تنبغي ننعس ديما قبل ما ننعس اول حاجه تنفكر فيها هي الجرده، وملي تنفيق ثاني حاجه هي الجرده.
This contemporary take on the traditional Islamic garden is in fact only one half of the Jardin Secret. A doorway in one corner connects to another separate area, and one that brings a modern Christian twist to the notions of a paradise garden.
Now, Lauro, this is very different indeed.
The exotic garden was also designed by Tom Stewart-Smith. And the man who conceived and financed the whole ambitious project is the Italian and long-time Marrakesh resident, Lauro Milan.
Tell me about this space. What was it like when you came here?
When I started, this land was with small houses, no garden. The surrounding walls existed and no buildings, practically historical buildings. The only historical part was these two basins with this channel. This is historical.
So this is original?
This is original, yes, and I kept it. And then you see it different, as you say, because you see that we just were in the Islamic garden, geometric, pure. And here, the choice was to have an Eden garden with plants of all over the world.
So a Garden of Eden?
Garden of Eden. Here, a Garden of Eden. There, an Islamic garden. It's a special garden because it's something that you don't expect. You walk outside in these small, narrow streets, dirt, full of people, noise, and you arrive here and it's really peaceful. Colors, every season different, nice plants. There is a spiritual part, a level that is difficult to explain in English for me.
I like the way that a garden done as the Garden of Eden counterbalances the more conventional Paradise Garden with its Islamic influences. So this part is filled with plants from all over the world. The underlying idea being that it's all God's creations, pulled together. Whereas the Islamic garden is purer and truer to its source and its roots. And yet, the two are connected. And so this is a development, an enlargement on the conventions of a Paradise Garden.
I think this is a really interesting juxtaposition between the very modern and the very traditional.
This is a really inspiring garden because as well as enlarging one's experience of the Paradise Garden in its familiar form, it does add layers of modernity and a sense of building something for a future rather than looking at its origins in the past. And it's also sown a seed that is nagging away at me. And it's that Persian fragrant meadow.